ready. We're so glad you made it tonight. I think we're going to really enjoy our girl. She's not little anymore, but she's a sweetheart. I've already met her, and we've already hit it off, and I've enjoyed talking to her already. And I tried to introduce her to everyone, and some of you, I'm sorry, we didn't make it around there. So I'll try to make the rest of the rounds. But this is Elizabeth Costner, and she's from Latvia, and she said I actually said it right, so I'm so excited. And she's going to talk more about it and tell you about it, and tell us about her experience with the Samaritan's Purse, and that's who she works for now. Part of the time goes around telling people about what happened, and she's also going to tell you about her other little job. But imagine just a little, you might tell them what you do. I think it's really neat. But anyway, we're glad to have her. So Elizabeth Costner, you're up.
First of all, I'm so thankful to be here today, and I'm so honored for each and every one to let me be here today to share something incredible. I'll leave it at the very end to tell you guys what I'm doing now, because it will make more sense. But for now, as you mentioned, I grew up in a super small country between Estonia and Lithuania. So just picture the map in your head. Even though your geography may be poor, you'll get there. It's right between Estonia and Lithuania, and we have Russia as well on our border. And so my story starts there. I was about 7 years old when everything kind of went chaotic a little bit for me. It all started with me running around the house with my real birth parents, with two of my younger siblings. I was only 7 years old. The day started with us playing hide and seek. I remember this day as it was yesterday. It's so clear in my head. I just cannot understand how I still remember this day. But the day was great, and we were playing hide and seek when suddenly, out of nowhere, there's this strange car that pulled up to our house. It was unusual to see a car, nevertheless a person, because we lived outside of the city, far in the middle of nowhere, basically. And so seeing the car made us hesitate, but then out of nowhere, this beautiful lady got out of the car, looked at me, looked at my younger sisters, and called out my name. She knew me by my first name, and I had no clue who she was in the first place. But she was curious where my birth parents were, and so I pointed at the house. Less than 5 minutes, she came back up and told us to get in the car. As a 7-year-old girl, I had no questions to ask. I thought that was exciting. I'm going to get to drive in a car. I got in the car with my two siblings following right behind me, and we took off. It wasn't until about 3-4 hours later I was concerned. I never even asked where we're going. I just went along with it. And she told us she's going to help us to be put somewhere safe. And so between ages 7 to 8, that whole year I spent in an orphanage. It wasn't horrible, but it also was not a family. The lack of relationships, the lack of understanding, no purposefully was there. And so it wasn't horrible because I still had roof and food and clothing, but other piece of that aspect was missing a little bit. But it wasn't until a year later, after I lived in orphanage, that my social worker at that time came back and asked me to see what I was thinking about being put into a foster care family. Of course, I had no idea what that was, but the word family is what got to say me yes right away, and so I did. And so, not long after I said yes, we all got together, packed our stuff, and went to see our foster family. I only had a foster mom, never had a foster dad. But it all came crashing down there as well. And the reason was because the minute I met my foster mom, she made it clear she did not want to see us. She never wanted older kids, nevertheless 3 of us. And so, standing in the doorway, I was confused, no idea what to do, or even where to go. But she let us stay, making sure we understood she had the power to send me back if I stepped out of line. And so, as years went by, me being the oldest of the foster care children, on top of my younger siblings, we had other foster kids Overall, there were 8 of us, 8 foster kids. The life was never boring if you look at it that way, but there's overall 8, and I was still the oldest of all of them. That would include some of the responsibilities. My foster mom was a nurse, so she worked long hours, but her being gone for a lot of the times meant I was responsible for making sure my siblings had food cooked, house clean, homework done, taking them to school and back. And a school trip was 4 miles one way and 4 miles back every single day. We did not have a vehicle, so it was with your legs only. And that's not including grocery pickups. And so it wasn't until one of the responsibilities, making sure everything is taken care of for my siblings. I also had to take care of the house, making sure it's clean as part of my chores. And it started getting harder for me to take care of myself on top of that. It wasn't until after public school, I went to music school because that's something my foster mom and I agreed on for me to do. And I really enjoyed it. But that also meant I didn't get home till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, plus dinner, homework, laundry. And so it wouldn't be till midnight by the time I had a chance to do my own homework. And even then, I still had no energy left to even do as much as write a paper. It wasn't until, on top of all of that, while we had roof, food, clothing, I was grateful, but it was life lived on a fear. Fear of being sent away to a place that wasn't great either. On top of having all these responsibilities, we also were starting to have food start getting scarce because 8 foster children made the food go out faster and faster. And on top of that, all of our clothing was always donated. And we sometimes got lucky with good clothing, sometimes not. Too small, too big, too dirty, too old. You never know what you're gonna get, but you get what you do get. And on top of the hygiene as well, we were lucky to bathe once a week. And on top of that, water was scarce, so we only were able to have 1 water bath. And that meant my siblings went before me. After 7 of them meant it was my turn, and water was already freezing cold and dirty at the same time. But it wasn't until when I was about 10 years old, when my foster mom out of nowhere told me to get ready with my siblings, because we were going to go into the city to help her with something. I had no understanding of what it is we're going to help her with, but she did explain to us that it was going to something to help with food. So it was food stamp organization to help us with a little bit more food. And so we all got there because she needed help to carry all the food we were going to get. So we get there, grab the bags, and are about to leave, and she suddenly stopped every one of us and told us to get in the line. I didn't even notice the line behind me, people just patiently standing in the line. And I looked at the end of the line, there was this table, and the table was just full of these beautiful green and red boxes. Still have no idea what was the whole purpose of this. I just patiently waited my turn, and then it eventually came to me. I remember standing at this table, face to face with the person just reading these boxes. I remember staring at it, and the person gave me the box with such a huge smile on her face. It threw me out. It's something I don't see often. And I hold out my hands, got the box, but still stared at that person with so much concern. I was like, this has to be a mistake. Nobody just gives you a box with nothing in return. And so it just smiled at me and told me, here, it's a gift for you. And then I stepped out of the line. My siblings were lucky as well to get a box right after me, so we all got to share that a little bit together. I was about to peek into the box when my foster mom told me, no, not yet. We need to get home first. And I was like, oh, okay, we'll get home. I remember that day as well as much as it was yesterday. It's so clear in my head. But it was on a very windy, cold winter day. I remember walking outside with wind raising my cheeks, getting it numb and red, no feeling left. Gray skies with snow falling. That day, I'm pretty sure I had to walk the 4 longest miles of my entire life. And here's the reason why. It was because I had such excitement, something to look towards. So this mystery box, I had no idea what it was all about when I just not once did I feel the cold, the wind. I was just so excited about the mystery of it all. And so once we got home, all 8 of us did share a room. So we were sharing one room, normal size room. And not organizing this, but we all ended up sitting in a perfect circle facing each and every one. And as my younger siblings, their patients were already tested, so they dipped in the box as soon as they sat down, or maybe even before they sat down. They were so ready to see what really was happening in the box. I was about to open my box when I had suddenly this huge urge to just look up at my sisters. And what I saw truly filled my heart to the fullest. I, for the first time, got to see my sisters smile and laugh and really express joy. It's something I have not heard in such a long time. And it filled my heart to the fullest. Then I looked down on my box thinking I'm going to open it, I'm going to see what's in it. But I was hesitant. I had concerns, like how come there's this stranger who gave me a box free of attachments, not waiting for anything in return. It just made no sense. And mostly because I experienced a world full of chaos and pain. This was out of that. This was something new. This was generous, love, and kind, and spark of hope. Then I let myself open the box, and a few of the items I got to see in this box truly amazed and truly changed everything how I saw the world. One of the items that stood out to me in the box was this beautiful coloring book. Never owned one before, never had coloring pencils, never even seen a coloring pencil before. And so, to this day on, I still have huge passion for art. And any style of art, painting, sketching, anything you can think of. And that's because of that little coloring book. Second thing that stood out to me the most was this beautiful lavender lipstick. I had no idea that was a lipstick in the first place. I had to ask my foster mom what this thing was, and she was like, it's something you put on your lips. It's like, no way, this is gonna be cool. And it wasn't until I finally realized the purpose of lipstick, that such a little item actually got me and my siblings closer to each other. We played dress up for hours, every day. And even when we ran out of that little color, we still pretended there was something in it. We played so much with that little thing, and it got us closer because we were being children. We were able to play and not worry about the outside of the world. And the last item, which I'm going to show you in just a minute. Okay, the last item that stood out to me the most was this beautiful stuffed animal. This is the exact replica of what I had in my box. I don't know what happened to the little stuff, but I hunted this little thing down for months till I found it. And it's the exact same thing. It feels the same, it looks the same. This is what stood out to me the most. It was the wow item that I had in my box. It was such a unique experience. I'd never done anything like it before. And on top of that, it was an item that was mine only. I didn't have to share it to anybody. It was officially mine. As a 10-year-old girl, this may sound silly to most of you, but as a 10-year-old girl, this spoke so much to me that what I ended up doing every single night is making sure it had a spot right next to my pillow, and I made sure it settled in there every time I would sleep. To me, it felt like I had a protector just watching over me, and so I cherished it from this moment on. Besides receiving all these wonderful gifts that I'd never even seen in my entire life till that point, each one of us got this little booklet, this beautiful booklet, just full of illustrations. And it looked something like this. Don't try to read it, it's not English, I'm sorry. It isn't my birth language, however. And so we all got a booklet like this. I remember looking through it and being fascinated by every single illustration it presented. Then I started reading it, and it really piqued my curiosity, mostly because there are a couple of words that I had no understanding of it. For example, what was resurrection, Lord, prayer? None of those words made sense to me, but it kept the curiosity for me. But it wasn't until a couple of years later, when I was about 14 years old, I was going through some hard times in life again, felt alone, lost, helpless. Hope was pretty much extinguished by then. I just needed somebody's guidance, but there was really nobody that I could go and ask. Then I remember what this booklet made me feel when I opened it. All that curiosity, the pull, the draw to it. Then I remember reading about the prayer, and I thought to myself, I'm just going to give it a shot. And so one night after school, I came home so heavy. I just sat down and I prayed for the first time at age 14. I have not stopped praying since that day. I have no idea if I did it right. Did I feel embarrassed? Absolutely. I have no idea if the Lord heard me or if He wants me. But at the end of the prayer, the most beautiful thing happened. I felt this invisible warm blanket just wrapped around me. I felt like the weight of the world was officially lifted off from me. I felt light. I felt hope, actually. I felt loved. That feeling cannot be described in just a couple of words. But it truly, truly opened my eyes. And that just proved to me the Lord has finally found me and I'm His forever. And on top of ending the prayer and finally finding the Lord, my biggest prayer that I prayed for a whole year was to have family. And not for me, then my siblings. As being in the foster care, I don't know if this rule still stands of today, but in my country, at age 16, that's the limit of when you can be adopted. When you turn 16, your time's out. I was 14 and praying. I knew my time was running out, so I prayed, if not for me, then my siblings, because they deserve the best. They needed the best. And so I prayed hard. It wasn't until a year later my prayers were answered. We were adopted here in Arkansas by a beautiful family. Love every each one of them. Got lucky to have my siblings with me and not be separated. And we all live here in Arkansas, and I could not be more grateful and more thankful for what they have done for me and my sisters. The Lord truly answered my prayer in that specific area. It was our first year with the family when they took us to church, slowly starting to introduce what it means to serve the Lord. I remember that at the end of the service, we all were walking out, and suddenly I saw a pile of piles of these beautiful green and red boxes. I had no idea why they looked so familiar, but it just was nagging me. They look so familiar. Why can't I remember it? And once we got home, I remembered why they looked so familiar. I told the same story to my parents, and it changed their perspective 100%. To them now, instead of doing a good deed because it's a good thing to do, for them it meant doing something more purposeful, having a bigger meaning behind it. They told the story to their friends of theirs told their friends, and it just was a chain reaction. After I told the story, every single year from that day, each member of my family would make sure we pack shoebox, and each year it gets sweeter and sweeter. As my siblings are growing older, both non-adopted and adopted, the experience they are giving into these boxes truly warms my heart to the fullest. And honestly, all of this ends to where it comes down to every single one of you. If not for y'all's generosity, love, and your generous heart of giving something so simple but pure truly warms my heart to the fullest. I could not be more thankful for each and every one of you. What you do here is the reason I received the box, a reason that a child might be in need and need a box, and for that I'm truly thankful. And to really end Before I end this, I do want to say that, just like Sue mentioned before, now with the struggles I went through the life, being adopted gave me much more possibilities in life. I was able to graduate from college, pretty sure first one from my family, my birth family. I went to college and I finished and got a degree. On top of that, having all these lab experience let me actually pursue a dream job of mine, which now I'm training younger athletes for recovery and injury prevention. And the connections we make with them is just incredible. And for that, I couldn't be more grateful. And that's all because Lord heard my prayer and really led me to where I needed to be. To really end this, I would like to pray in my birth language. And so if you will, bow your heads with me and I'll pray. Liels paldies, ko tu esi manā labātājs. Es tev ļoti lūdzu, palīdz mums visiem tikt galā ar mūsu problēmām un mūsu grūtībām. Palīdz mums atrast, kā būtu tev tuvāk, un palīdz mums lūdzu piedod mums visus grēkus. Ja mums vajag tevi, mums vajag tavu drošību, mums vajag tavu veselību. Es ļoti lūdzu, lai tu mums visiem varētu visus mūsu mīlēt. Un paldies par šiem cilvēkiem. Es tev ļoti mīlu. Amen. Amen. Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
Wow. I think we could have heard a pin drop in here. I don't know if I've ever heard y'all that quiet. Even when Joe's preaching. No, I'm teasing. But something that seems so small, look what happened when God uses something like that.